Before we begin, I just want to drop a quick bombshell. Shanks knows about him, but more on that later. Let's start at the beginning. So, Shanks has come to meet the Gorosei to talk about a certain pirate. I believe that pirate is Luffy. Why? Well, let's take a look at Shanks. Specifically, the moves he's made so far in the series. Number 1. He's talked to Whitebeard to stop Ace going after Blackbeard. Number 2. He's talked to Kaido to prevent him from reaching Whitebeard. Number 3. He's talked to Sengoku, Blackbeard and Marco to end the war. And number 4. He's now come to talk to the Gorosei. When Shanks goes out of his way to meet with someone, it is always to prevent some huge calamity from taking place. His meeting with Whitebeard would have prevented the Marineford War, the greatest battle in the series so far. His meeting with Kaido successfully prevented the Marineford War from getting further out of hand than it already was. And his meeting with Sengoku, Blackbeard and Marco successfully ended the Great War, helped save the lives of the great figures, as well as the lives of countless men and Marineford itself. It could be said that Shanks is the greatest diplomat of the One Piece world, and is someone who continues to push for peace and balance in the world. Going by this trend, and by this characteristic of Shanks, it would make sense if this time, with his meeting with the Gorosei, he's attempting to do the same thing as always, striving to keep the balance of the world. But what is the great calamity that Shanks is trying to prevent? Well, what are the Gorosei currently planning? The Great Cleansing! That is what Shanks is after. One of the Gorosei even says, the balance of the world cannot be maintained forever. It seems like there is need for a great cleansing. Right after that, they ask him if the light that needs to be extinguished from history has been decided upon. Who is the target that Im will be after? Well, it seems heavily implied that it will be one of the 4 whose photos Im is currently holding. Luffy, Blackbeard, Shirahoshi and Vivi. The 2 pirates among those being Luffy and Blackbeard. Out of the 4, I would think that Luffy and Vivi are the main 2 suspects. Luffy because of the giant straw hat from earlier, and Vivi because her photo was the only one still intact and the one Im took with him to his throne. Among these 2, Luffy is the only pirate, not to mention any attack on Vivi will inevitably involve Luffy. Add to this the fact that the last time we saw Shanks, it was when Luffy was announced as the 5th Emperor, and upon reading about it, Shanks responded, "It looks like we will be able to meet soon, Luffy." But rather than go meet up with Luffy, Shanks meets the Gorosei instead. Why? Because Luffy has just made a big enough splash in the world to warrant the Gorosei setting their eyes on him. So Shanks wants to prevent the great calamity that will follow. And just to be clear, this is not an attempt by Shanks just to save Luffy, but rather an attempt to prevent the destruction which will inevitably follow in battle between them. Now, to go back to the beginning, Shanks knows about him. The reason I say this is because the timing is too perfect. Shanks just happens to visit the Gorosei just as they're planning the Great Cleansing, which is being led by him himself. I'm assuming if Shanks is aware of the Great Cleansing, then he must be aware of him. Not to mention, Im's reveal came right after Shanks' scene. It just feels like Oda is trying to throw us off the scent, or rather, Oda is trying to leave no scent. And that's it. Shanks knows about him and is here to talk to the Gorosei about Luffy to prevent the Great Cleansing.